So before we head to the Circle of Sages at Crescent Lake, we are going to take our level 25 team and go hunting for WarMECH. And in preparation for that, we're going to go to Gaia to get Omaru the Black Wizard a cat claw, and then we're going to go to the dwarves and bring that adamantium that we found, or the adamant rather, that we found in the floating fortress. Now Omaru is not going to use the cat claw against WarMECH. We're not expecting him to use it. But we have more money than we know what to do with after our trip through the Mirage Tower and the floating castle. We take our adamant to the dwarves, and we give Omaru a little time in the spotlight. I think the Black Wizard's sprite animation is the coolest out of all of them. And we now have the second best weapon in the game. The best weapon is in the final dungeon, but Excalibur is miles above the third place weapon, which is actually the katana that we have equipped on our ninja. So this here is everyone's penultimate weapon setup before we go into the final area of the game, and this is the weapon setup that we will take with us to hunt WarMECH. Now, WarMECH is an Americanized name. It was supposed to be called Death Machine. Now, there's no shortage of criticism for Americanization in these games and the names, but due to the fact that we knew this enemy as WarMECH, I like the fact that the Pixel Remaster kept its name. Here is the penultimate armor loadout. We're going to find some armor in the final dungeon as well, but this is the armor that we will hunt WarMECH with, and this is the armor that we will begin the final dungeon with as well. So we take our current party loadout, and we head into Mirage Tower to begin our ascent. And we're going to see how straightforward the trek from the bottom of the Mirage Tower to the top of the floating castle is. Now, when I said in the last video that WarMECH was stronger than the final boss, I meant that his physical attacks hit harder. WarMECH actually has 1,000 hit points, which is half that of the final boss, and makes this fight feel more winnable. Now, as you can see how straightforward things are, for the second area in the floating castle, we just go straight south. And then in the third, we just head a little bit left and then down. And the fourth would be a maze if we didn't know the trick. Going 2 intersections in any one direction, getting into a fight with sorcerers, and then go 2 intersections in any perpendicular direction from your original. And there's the teleporter to take us to the next area. Now here on WarMECH's floor, we have a very slim chance of running into WarMECH, so in order to avoid accidentally power leveling, I'm going to run from the battles, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to set my top 2 characters to run, my White Wizard to use the heal staff, as the enemies do get a few hits in before we run, and then the Black Wizard will use the Black Robe. Because there are some enemies that are vulnerable to ice, and maybe just in case, a little offense will help. Now at one point, I did consider making Shao the party leader rather than Miko, because if Miko is the party leader, WarMECH will target him as the ninja. But then I decided not to, because with Miko as the party leader, it gives us the best chance to avoid getting ambushed by WarMECH, and maybe even getting a preemptive against WarMECH. Not sure if that's possible, though. We can notice by the stats that although Miko and Xiao's agility is comparable, Miko's luck is double that of any other member of the party, giving him a whole 2 points ahead in that surprise preemptive formula. This area also gives us an opportunity to see the encounter rate of the original Final Fantasy, which has been historically criticized and adjusted in future versions of this game. So much for Miko being the party leader. First attack is against our white wizard, which means she probably won't survive this turn. My decision for turn 1 is, should I have the ninja cast fast on the knight, or should the black wizard cast fast on the knight? Ultimately, I decided the ninja would cast fast, and then the black wizard would go right into offense with the knight. The white wizard, since she probably won't survive, I'm not going to try to heal with her turn, but I am going to try to cast a defensive buff for the party that hopefully she'll be able to use before WarMECH uses his first turn. So both of my wizards have been taken out before they have a chance to contribute anything. It's a good thing I had the ninja cast fast on Xiao, because now Xiao is doing some serious damage. We'll see if the ninja can join Xiao on turn 2 in doing fast damage. The only thing Xiao can do is attack. So Miko is able to cast fast, but WarMECH targets Miko as the party leader, which might work out in our favor. Now WarMECH is less than half health, and if Xiao was the party leader, maybe he would have taken that hit from WarMECH instead. Here it is, the final turn. Whoever acts first wins. Xiao acts first. WarMECH is defeated. A lot of things went in our favor in this fight, with Miko as party leader and the choice to have Miko cast fast. Wow, Xiao got a lot of experience. He is easily going to level up. But if I would have had Omaru cast fast on the first turn, that might have allowed WarMECH to survive long enough to take Xiao out. And we will never forget Miko's sacrifice. Okay, but it's not over. Xiao still needs to get out of the floating castle alive so that he can use a house and save the game outside, make it to a town, and res the party in order for any of this to count. So we're going to use what heal potions we have to bring Xiao back to full health. We are going to hope that Xiao does not run into sorcerers on his way out of the floating castle. Just air elementals, which, if they did a critical hit against Xiao, they could take a lot of his hit points away. So we're just going to keep running from whatever enemies we encounter until we get out of the floating castle and save the game. This is a little situation that is not unfamiliar to an old gamer. Being in a situation where you decide, is it a good idea to save? Because we're in pretty bad shape. I almost ruined a save file of Ys. You see, in Ys, you could save your game at any time. It wasn't like Final Fantasy where you had to save your game at certain points, and I picked a bad time. My hit points were low and an enemy was approaching me, and it was actually my dad's save file, and I don't know how I ended up playing his save file, but I ruined it for him and he had to start all over again. But in this situation, Xiao is pretty beefy in his defense and high in hit points. We're going to run away from these enemies though, because they are also high in defense and high in attack. The last one just did 100 points of damage to him, so we're going to have Shao run from them, unlike the fight before that. But here we are in the clear from Final Fantasy's first Superboss, or optional boss, the first optional boss of the series. I was always perplexed by the idea of superbosses, an optional boss that was harder than the final boss of the story. Practically, it made sense to me. The developers included a fight for those who wanted to test their strategic skill, but if the final boss was that difficult, it would alienate a lot of casual players or players that just didn't want to devote the time to hone their skills in that particular game. But it also kind of popped the bubble of immersion for me. If this optional boss is stronger than the final boss, then the final boss loses some of his clout. That's why I love Octopath Traveler. That game is a love letter to old school RPG gamers, especially in its use of the Superboss. But we're back at the desert here because I want to show you the hardest enemy in the world map area, the T-Rex. His high defense and high attack put him on the level of some bosses, so we're going to treat him like a boss, although he's nowhere near as intimidating as WarMECH, so we are going to make short work of him. However, one hit with Excalibur did not take him out, and he had a pretty beefy attack as well. But we'll wrap him up with Omaru. So this is it. Outside of the final dungeon, we have faced the two hardest enemies in the game. Now let's get ourselves back to the story on our way to Crescent Lake and the Circle of Sages.